he made a deal with the guy. He made a deal with this guy that he would go to his supervisors, tell him about where this guy is, and try to get him immunity. We sent a U.S. attorney to Mexico, gave this guy immunity, brought him back to the United States, gave him a pass to go back and forth across the border while we were preparing the trial, so he would testify against the border agents. Once he did, by the way, during the course of time, between the time they gave him the pass and the time we actually had the trial, he brought in another load of drugs, 800 pounds of drugs. And Johnny Sutton, the guy who's the U.S. attorney, told the DA in the area not to do anything about it, not to prosecute, because they were going to use this guy to testify. They did use him. He testified against our agents. They're in jail, serving 10 to 12 years. This guy is free and is suing the United States for $5 million.
And he's still bringing drugs.
He's a drug dealer. That's what he does. That's what he did. In the trial, he was presented as a poor guy trying to pay for his mother's operation. I mean, really, that is exactly the way Johnny Sutton portrayed him to the jury. He is a long-time cartel drug dealer, by the way, who never traveled, his mother said, without a gun. Because Johnny Sutton says he was unarmed, that's why these guys should not have fired their weapons. But they said he was armed. Well, that's their word against his. Which one are you going to take? A convicted drug dealer, a cartel member who never travels without a gun, or the words of the Border Patrolman? Well, the other day, we had this thing called the Commerce State Justice Appropriations Bill up in front of us. I amended it. I offered an amendment to say that no funds for the Department of Justice in that bill could be used to incarcerate Ramos and Compiègne. And it passed. Now, we've got to see. It's got to get through the Senate. I spoke to Senator Grassley. He told me that he would help us in this endeavor. If we can keep it in the bill, if it gets passed, if the Senate, if it goes through, gets signed by the President, and by the way, he would have to veto the entire appropriations bill because he can't, there's no line item veto. So he would have to veto the Department of Justice appropriations bill. But if he doesn't do that, if it becomes law, then October the 1st, which is the beginning of the fiscal year, these guys are out. So I'm hoping. Now it's a long shot, believe me, that this, because no, it's never been used before, but we have done everything. We have begged the President. We have written him, I don't know how many letters. 72 people signed it. So something good did happen. By the way, the Democrats were afraid to let this go to a vote. They just let it be a voice vote. They didn't want a recorded vote because they didn't want any of their folks to have to vote against this thing. No? So they just took it on a recorded vote. But they're going to try to strip it out in the committee. I know that. So that's why I asked Grassley to help us try to keep it in. So that's where we are on that. Now, all these things we talk about, these are all related to the immigration issue, but they are all, as I say, related to a much bigger picture about what is happening in America and what we are confronted with in this clash of civilizations. So there are, of course, other things. I know people are concerned about health care issues and about education and all this rest of that. Let me tell you, I believe there are things that the federal government can do in these areas, but they're all designed to increase, from my point of view, personal responsibility. I believe in a health savings account that allow you to make choices about how you're going to interact with your own service provider. I believe that we should remove the barriers, for instance, to allowing people to select insurance companies from. Why should they not be able to select from any state in the nation, any insurance company? But I'm telling you this only because of this. I am not going to promise you some sort of health care system that will take care of every one of your needs. I do not believe that is the role of the federal government. I believe that the federal government's role is relatively narrow. It is identified in the Constitution of the United States. If you don't know what we're supposed to be doing, if a federal employee, if a president or a member of Congress doesn't know what the federal government's supposed to be about, they should read this document once in a while. It's very clear. It states what it is that we are supposed to be doing and what states are supposed to be doing. And you know, my friends, to tell you the truth, the federal government, there is no role for the federal government providing health care for everybody. And the minute we do that, again, we hurt quality and we increase costs. The same thing with education. I am not going to tell you, I will not promise you that will educate your child to that you'll have the best education for your kids in the world. I am going to ask you to do something, however, and that is to accept an idea, a concept that is somewhat foreign to us anymore. Not to us in this room necessarily, but it's becoming more and more foreign to America. And it's a shame. The concept is called individual responsibility. Okay? It is something that I believe all of us need to accept a lot more of and put a lot less of in terms of weight, responsibility, and the like with the federal government. Do not ask, do not demand all of these things from the federal government, because I assure you what you will get is a federal government that is bloated, that spends way too much, and that becomes too much part of your life. And we will all then complain about an overburdening federal government, bureaucracy, regulating every little thing. Well, why should we be surprised when we ask it to do almost everything? The federal government isn't meant to supply these things. And I know that most candidates want to get in front of you and say, don't worry, I will take care of your health care needs. I will take care of your children's educational opportunities. I'm telling you, I will get out of the way. I will get out of the way. As president, I will do my best to get out of the way and get the government out of the way so that you can make the decisions you need to make about your children and about your own life and about your own health care. These are not roles that I believe the federal government has a legitimate purpose in extending themselves into. I am a small government guy. Look, on the back of this, there's a little scorecard, okay? And this tells you who I am. I mean, I know we've spoken a lot today on the issue of immigration. There are a lot of other things. But I don't have time to go into everything, but this tells you a lot about me. This is a lifetime record, okay? As I admit I don't have many report cards that I can show you like this that I had from high school or anything, but it is a record that I have from what I have done in the Congress of the United States, and before that when I was in the state legislature 30 years ago. I mean, I have a pro-life record that has never changed, never, in 30 years. It is 100% pro-life. I believe that, thank you, sir. I do not change my presentation to fit a particular crowd, because I'm here in Iowa, and Iowans are, conservative or pro-life. I am who I am. And the only thing that I can guarantee you is that today, the guy that's standing before you today is the guy that ran for the legislature 30 years ago in Colorado, only was a lot taller, had a lot more hair, and much better looking. In terms of philosophy, it's the same person. I am the same person. I have not changed any of these things. And as President of the United States, that's what I can promise you, that I am the person I tell you I am. I will not promise you things I cannot do. I will promise you with all my heart that I will do the things that I believe are the proper role for the president. That is to protect and defend this country. It means to secure our borders, and it means to defend our country against the attack that I believe we are under from radical Islam. It's all over the world. We will be fighting it many different ways. We will be fighting it, yes, with the force of arms in some places, but we will be fighting with the force of ideas in many other places. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is this. The president and this country better figure out exactly what it can do to deter. Now, I underline deter the next attack. Deter, not just respond, but deter. Or else I assure you we're going to suffer. The extent of which, of course, I do not know. I know what they're planning. I know what they want. I do not know if they're going to be capable of doing this tomorrow, the next day, or a month from now. But I know that right now, at this moment, there is nothing nothing that deters